What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be working on the S4. We've got something pretty cool to install. It's going to change the car a bunch from what I've been reading online and from hearing from other guys locally. We are going to be installing the Autotech fuel pump. So this goes in the high pressure fuel pump. It's internals for that fuel pump to flow up to, what I was reading online is 50%. I think it's actually probably less than that, but it's going to give us the ability to run 40% ethanol. We can't do full E85 for these cars just yet at the level that I'm at, dual pulley. Hopefully in the near future, but we're going to be installing this guy today. So the first step that you want to do, start the car, and then we're going to want to remove fuse number 3 in the brown box. That's going to be this 25 fuse right here. Pull this guy. This is for the high pressure fuel pump. The car should die here in just a second. Perfect. So now that the car is dead, work on the high pressure system. Since we basically let the car die and starve itself, there should be very minimal fuel pressure within these high pressure lines. And right down here is the fuel pump. So we got to remove the whole intake assembly, inlet filter, box, all that stuff, and then we can work on the fuel pump. So the next step is to remove the cover that goes right here and protects this high pressure line, as well as this first bolt that goes in to the block holding this high pressure line on. This is going to let us move this high pressure line out of the fuel pump when we go to disconnect it from here. Once you get in here, you're going to want to make sure you have a microfiber towel covered around this area so that when we do loosen this, we don't have fuel spraying everywhere and soaking the entire bottom. So once you have both your fuel lines removed, you want to make sure that you are catching any sort of fuel that is going to drain out of here. This one's already completely drained out. Now you can start by taking off the fuel pump. It is going to be an M8, which is a triple square. It's not a Torx. It's a triple square, very important because these are soft bolts and they will strip. So you want to make sure that you have these guys. They come in all different shapes and sizes, but you want to make sure it's an M8. And if I was smart, I would have bought the socket versions and not the bits, because now it's way down there. Thank you, splitter. I forgot to mention, before you take the fuel pump off, there are 2 connectors down there. I got one. This one's really easy. You can do it just right from the top. The other one is kind of hidden down on this side. It's really hard to see, but it is going to be right in here, and it's a very simple connector. They look very similar to these ones right here, where you pull this tab up, push it, and slide the connector out. So I'm just going to get a flathead screwdriver down there, make sure that tab pops out, and then I can get it with my hands. So here's the tricky part. Once you start to pull this off, there is a cam follower that's sitting right in here. It's going to want to fall out. So make sure you have some sort of towel, rag, old t-shirt lying under here so that it does not fall all the way down through, and then it's hard to get, just like that bit that I had fall. And it should just pop right off. So I was able to take this all out, caught the cam follower. It doesn't look too worn. There's some scratching marks along here, which is where I believe where the cam lobe touches. But overall, not in bad condition. Either way, still replacing it. So it is the next day. I was having some difficulties getting this lock ring off. I ran over to 034 Motorsports and picked up their kind of tool that they offer on their website. But as you can see, the fitment is just slightly off. When you try to turn it, it just kind of, it doesn't sink down far enough, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So luckily the guys over at 034 are super supportive of the build, and they are allowing me to take the fuel pump over there, and they're going to kind of show me how they use this, as well as help me along the way with installing the internals for the fuel pump. And then hopefully we can flash over to E40, fill up the car with some ethanol tonight, and go out and have some fun. Alright, so we made it over to 034. I wasn't able to bring the camera inside the shop while they fixed that fuel pump for me, but it literally took them like 5 minutes tops. They threw the proper socket on top, broke that thing loose, and it's perfect. So now we're headed back to Santa Cruz, and we're gonna get this fuel pump installed. So we are back at the house. Everything is ready to go back in for the install. So I did notice a difference in the cam followers that I ordered. I did some more research, and it's because this is the older revision cam follower that were on the B8s. I'm not sure exactly the year that they switched over. to the new design. So this one is a little more secure with that roller in there. The heights are slightly different, but if you look at the bottom, if you flip them over and you can see the depth that the cam follower sits at, they're slightly different, making, I'm pretty sure, compensating for that height difference on the roller. So it is now time for installation. So in reinstalling the fuel pump, the cam follower has only one way. It's going to go straight up into the cams up here. So make sure that orientation is right. Also put some oil on there just so it's better lubed up when you slide it up in there, as well as a little bit on the spring and whatnot. So the fuel pump should just slide right up in there. It's going to have some resistance because there is a seal, but apply back a pressure on the bottom of this while you're screwing these in to alleviate any pressure from or any resistance on these bolts while you're screwing them in. So the torque spec for the 2 bolts that hold that high pressure fuel pump in are going to be 20 Newton meters, or let's see what that is. That is going to be 20 Newton meters, or about 13 foot-pounds. The next step for us to do is to go ahead and plug in those connectors that were underneath. There are 2 of them. And once those connectors are in, then you can connect your high pressure fuel pump, or your, whoa, just kidding, your high pressure fuel line. There's gonna be this hard line here. Make sure you're not at any sort of angle that threads on very easily before you start tightening down with a wrench. And this one is about 27 Newton meters. So if you felt what that felt like, then it's just a little bit tighter than that. It's kind of hard to reach in here, but I just used a very small little 17 and didn't want to over torque it. Now we can put our low pressure fuel line on there. So everything is back in, connected, and torqued down to spec. We can throw the airbox back in and get to that fuse. Airbox is back in. Let's throw that fuse back into its spot and prime the fuel and check for any leaks. So the car is back running. We are good to go. Everything seems to be acting normal. I'm just gonna let the car idle for a little bit. While the car is idling, there is a trick to help you prime the fuel system. Basically what you wanna do, close the door, lock the car, let it sit for a few seconds, open the door, and you'll kind of hear the fuel pump prime. Just do that a few times, make sure that there's fuel pressure building up in the system, and I'm gonna pop the hood and check to see if there's any leaks. That can also be done when you're priming the car itself, but I did check there, no leaks so far. There is a clamp that I'm kind of worried about, but I'm gonna replace that tomorrow. So I hope you all enjoyed this quick install guide on how to put a Autotech fuel pump in your B8 S4. Overall, it was not a difficult process, simple tools. Just make sure you have basically that 12-point socket before you start, as well as I would 100% recommend getting the right tool for your fuel pump. This one from 034 Motorsports is actually really nice. However, it did not fit my early revision high pressure fuel pump. So make sure you are keeping that in mind when you're looking for the right tool. There are 2 out there on the market that I have seen. It's this one, and then the one directly from Autotech. That one's gonna be a fit for all the years regardless, so it might just be better to go with that one. So once again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all on the next one.